Hello, welcome back. This video is going to be all about the mega game that I went to on Monday night. So it's Wednesday morning, so I've had a day or so to sort of process it, and I thought I'd share my thoughts. But before I do, just want to do a few hellos. So to Nick, Jim, and Mark at the club, thank you for all the support. It's absolutely brilliant. Really encouraged me to do some more of these. So thanks, guys, and thanks for watching. Cool. Okay. So I went to a mega game. It was run by a gaming group down in Thanet in Margate, down here in Kent. And their group is called All Around the Boards. They've got a Facebook group and they run board game nights every Monday. Down in Margate, they moved to a brand new venue. It's in a church hall. There's loads of room and parking. Really friendly group of guys and girls. Teas, coffees, everything like that. They run board games. Jump on, if you're local, jump on their site. Have a look, see what's running, and get yourself down there, play a game. Really great. I highly recommend the group. So they put on a mega game as part of moving to their new venue to sort of celebrate. So a mega game is a game where kind of everybody in the room is involved. So in our case, there's about 25 or so players. So you set up a giant game. Everyone sort of joins in with it. Normally is split off into little teams. There's a few other bits and pieces on YouTube for different types of mega games. So mega games can be varied. So in the same as tabletop games or board games, there's many different types. But the idea is you play in a large group and you sort of all split off into subgroups. You do your thing and each group's decisions and whatever kind of influences the main group. And in the end, you come together to see who's kind of won. So that's kind of a very vague sort of overview of what a mega game is. In our case, there was 25 people. We were split into 5 teams. Each team was a country. So we had USA, Russia, France, China, and Japan. And then in the middle were 2 GMs, 2 games master. Darius Twyman, he was running the whole event. He did a fantastic job. And I'm really sorry, I can't remember the other chap's name, but he did an equally good job. But we'll get on to more of the ins and outs of the particular game in a sec, because I want to split this video into 2 because I think that's probably the fairest way to do it. So the first half is all about the mega game, second half is about the actual game that we played. So overall impressions of a mega game, absolutely brilliant. There's a massive buzz, you can feel the electricity in the air, there's lots of excitement. It is very noisy mainly because there's so many people kind of involved. It's quite hectic quite a lot of the time. A lot of mega games seem to involve collecting information and then within your small satellite groups deciding what to do with that information and then going out into the bigger group and sort of using what you've decided to kind of steer the game in a way that will help you to win. So it involves lots of information, it's quite chaotic and it can be hard. You don't have all the information, so there's a lot of people running all over the place. It can get a bit confusing as to who's on what teams, what information is true, what information is false. So it can be quite chaotic, and like I say, very, very noisy. I think you have to be fairly confident because you do really need to throw yourself into it. It sometimes can involve a bit of role playing. Quite often you'll be given a specific job within the game that you're doing, and there's kind of an expectation that you take on that role and sort of try and portray it as realistically as you can for the benefit of the game and whatever. And I think if you're GMing it, certainly from what I saw on Monday, that's quite a stressful job. You're going to need to be confident you know the rules, and you are going to have people in your face for the whole of the game, sort of trying to push their agendas, because obviously everyone wants to win, don't they? So they're all in separate teams. So that's a mega game. I'd recommend doing it. I'll definitely do another one. I thought it was brilliant. I'm quite confident, so I quite enjoy that kind of thing. I like the buzz of it. It kind of reminded me, not that I've ever done it, but it's what I think maybe working in stock markets like. Do you remember seeing those things from the 80s where on the shop floor everyone's shouting and thingy and trying to get their own bits? It's kind of very much like that, or like a busy auction or something like that. So if you're quite shy, not very confident, or maybe a bit anxious, then perhaps it might not be for you. But I wouldn't want to stop anyone from trying it, because I think all the different experiences you can have in life, they can be positive. So, but bear in mind, it is quite lively and quite noisy. But yeah, I'll do another one about that. So Second part of the thing, the actual game I went to play, it was a game called Leaving Earth, and I think originally it's a board game. Darius and the guys from all around the board kind of altered it a little bit to sort of make it into a mega game, maybe tweak some of the rules and whatever. Basically, it's a space race, so you've got the known galaxy out in front of you, and each of these countries are all racing to build rockets to go and explore different parts of the galaxy. So you had the Moon and Mars and Venus and Saturn and sort of all the planets in our galaxy. So yeah, the idea was in your country you need to build rockets to go and explore the parts of the galaxy. The harder, these were called missions, harder the mission, the more points you got, and at the end of the night the person with the most points won. Each turn was a year, so we ran for 30 years. We started in 1956 and finished in 1986, and every 4 minutes the year changed. So we had 30 years to try and get as many missions done, get as many points as we could. In order to do a mission, you need to build a rocket. In order to build a rocket, you've got to fill it with supplies, you've got to put astronauts in it, you've got to have fuel. Fuel comes in the shape of rockets. Those rockets need to be researched. So there's quite a lot of, it's a resource management game, it kind of felt like. There's quite a lot of work that has to go into putting your rockets together and making sure they've got enough stuff to be able to complete the missions, because if you blow up or don't make it back, then you don't succeed. There was quite a bit of maths involved in this game, which is not my speciality, I've got to be honest. So you have to build a rocket. Each mission, depending on how hard it has got difficulty, and then you need to work out how much the total mass of your spacecraft is, which includes all the fuel, the supplies, and the people on it, and everything else. And then you have to times the mass by the difficulty to work out how much fuel you'll need to make it there and back. But obviously as you go along and use those supplies and the fuel, the mass goes down, so the calculations change. So it's quite important to work out that you had enough stuff to make it back, but not so much stuff that you needed extra fuel, which cost you extra money, which you didn't necessarily have. And obviously you could trade with other countries to get the resources and the different component parts of your spacecraft. So that's kind of where it all came into the haggling and the sort of double crossing people and bluffs and all sorts of stuff. And obviously if someone beat you to the planet or the mission that you were doing, they would get the points and your kind of mission would be abandoned. So there was quite a lot of pressure, time bound pressure to take off as quick as you kind of could. So that was cool. Within each team, within each country, there were different roles. So there was one person was a director, and they had the overall veto on where we were going to go, how we were going to build the rocket, and sort of what our direction was going to be. Director. We had a researcher, I think, and it was their job to try and work out what fuel type, what rocket types we might need, what supplies and stuff we might need. Trying to think who else it was. There was 5 different roles. Anyway, I'm forgetting them. There's a foreign advisor. I was a foreign advisor. It's supposed to be my job to go to other tables and sort of kind of spy in a way as to what they were doing, bring intelligence back to my table and sort of help advise the director possibly which way we ought to be headed, or which missions, were looking like they were going to take off before ours, and maybe try to avoid those. There was one of the people was in charge of doing all the maths, and I can't remember the name of that role, but they were supposed to, probably a scientist or something, and they had to sort of do all the calculations to make sure that our spacecraft could get there and back, and kind of what we needed and whether the plan would work. So yeah, it was quite involved, and it was really fun. Hand on heart, I'm not sure if it was the best game for a mega game, because the maths was quite hard, and because it was quite a crunchy game. It was quite an in-depth game. There was quite a lot to it. We kind of found that there was a couple of core people in each team that were kind of understood the rules first of all, which was quite a big barrier because they were quite complicated, and had done the maths and knew where we were going and knew everything, and it was quite hard perhaps for some of the other people to try and get in on that. So it was a fun game, and I would play it I can see how it worked on a tabletop. Normally you would play it, each person takes on a country, and you're kind of responsible for all the rules in it, so you can go off and so it's all in your head. And I know that Darius, the guy who was running it, the GM's in the middle, I'm sorry about mind me saying this, they were run ragged. One guy, Darius, was doing the marketplace where you could go to buy your supplies and buy your rockets and buy your bits and pieces. And he pretty much for the whole game, he also was giving out the money at the beginning of each turn. He was pretty much run ragged for the whole time, with a queue of people wanting to talk to him. And the other chap, whose name I really apologise, can't remember, was controlling the map, and he was trying to track everybody's different spaceships, make sure that nobody was uncovering missions that they hadn't done, or getting intelligence or whatever. And equally, he had a queue of people with him who were all trying to show them the research they had done and sort of get him to move the rockets about and whatever. So they looked quite stressed out. I'm sure they had a great time, and they did their roles really, really well. Everyone got in the spirit of it, people dressed up. It was a fantastic experience. I really loved it. My overall verdict, a mega game, 100%, absolutely, definitely do it again, without any shadow of doubt. Whether I'll play Leaving Earth again, I'm not so sure. It's not the kind of game, I think I spoke about this on a previous video, it's not the kind of game I would normally play. Like I say, it's a bit crunchy, a bit too much maths for me. Whether it transposed over to a mega game particularly well or not, I don't know. I do know that everybody in there had fun, so if you want to measure the success of something on the amount of fun you had, then it was a success. So that's kind of my experience in mega gaming. I'm going to try and do some more at some point. I'd like to do a Kriegspiel, which is like a big Napoleonic mega game type thing. So I might do a bit of research on the internet and see if I can find a mega game that someone's made along that basis and see how we get on. So anyway, that's the end of that video, and I'll see you again for another one. Take care, thanks for watching, see you later, bye.